This is episode 149 with Darci Smith. You're tuned into Forever Athlete Radio, where together we go far. I'm your host, Corey Camp, former Division I swimmer, Forever Athlete founder, and your personal flow coach, helping you optimize your life one conversation at a time. Remember, you can call or text in to join the show at 301-747-0718. With that, today I am joined by a good friend of mine, Darci Smith. She's your favorite career coach, self-proclaimed washed-up soccer player, her words not mine, and an avid animal lover. Darci does a fantastic job of really blending humor into everything that she does, making your typical intimidating career decisions like interviews and salary negotiations straightforward and simple and really relatable. We talk all things about the non-traditional work life that she has created for herself. She's just left her recruiting job to pursue being a self-employed full-time career coach. We dive into how letting your personality really truly shine through, no matter what it is that you're doing, is really the secret to success in life. So let's dive in with it and welcome Darci to the show. Darci, welcome to Forever Athlete Radio. I'm stoked because I just saw you the other day, but I'm stoked to be spending some virtual time with you here today too.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I got to get my aesthetic background like you. Like you just got it cleaned up, clear. I got like the crazy, you're in my live right now.
I love it. I'm like, I need some plants in my life. I'm looking behind you and I have one wall, so.
Only one of them's real, full disclosure.
Like, oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't keep anything alive.
I try to be responsible. I know my mom listens to this. So Mom, we're doing okay. We're taking care of two plants. They haven't died. The other one's in the living room. So we're doing well. We're doing well. Context for the people. How did you get here? Because you recently went through a transition yourself. You've newly self-employed.
Yes.
As how many months has been now?
Yeah, it's probably been about 2 months, if that. I made the leap pretty much, 2 months ago to go on my own. So to give a little background, kind of is, obviously who I am. So my name's Darci. We kind of got that out of the way, but I grew up in Bakersfield, California. For those who don't know what that is, it is like 2 hours north of LA. Very much known for our cows and our agriculture and our oil. So small town vibes. And I ended up going to school as an undergrad, specifically for soccer. So in my whole dream in life was to play Division I soccer, and everything I did and everything my parents did and helped me out through that was to get to that. So always going on any tournament I could to be seen. Eventually ended up landing like a scholarship to go play soccer. So did that, experienced that, and then came back over to LA for grad school, where I ended up doing grad school, getting a normal job, living the corporate life. And I quickly realized, even though that was kind of what was set out for me and my dad kind of instilled that in me, I think I realized I was like, wow, this might not be for me. So kind of moving forward to where I am now, I started getting into recruiting, which was also on the corporate side. Did that for 4 years. And now I said, you know what, I'm going to do things on my own. So I started my own recruiting company. And I am doing career coaching as well. So I do online career coaching where I meet with people over Zoom and help them prepare for interviews and with resumes and all of that fun stuff.
All the fun stuff that I'm like, thank God I'm self-employed and I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Right. I know.
I was about to say, I feel like even the business owners obviously could benefit from the work that you do and the insight that you bring. It is valuable, and you're a fantastic follow on Instagram and on TikTok. We'll get to that at the very end, but so many contradictions. To me, not being from West Coast, I'm like, there's a small town in California like that exists. Like, yes. I just think immediately SF, LA, that's it over here.
Right.
What was like the norm? Because you mentioned it too. You were raised the traditional quote unquote route was like corporate 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. So is that kind of the standard, the norm in your upbringing and in your hometown specifically too?
Definitely. Yeah. I think bringing it back, I mean, my mom didn't work. So everything I saw was my mom, she cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the kids, she does everything. My dad goes to work every single day. My dad doesn't come home till 5 p.m. We never ate dinner as a family because we're all in sports, right? So I would say traditional in the sense of like, the father works, the mom doesn't. And so I saw that every day, but I was very lucky enough to where my parents both were saying to me, like, you can do whatever you want to do. And I'm so thankful for that. But at the same time, everyone around me was very similar. So everyone here, a lot of their parents grew up in Bakersfield, high school sweethearts. It's that type of route. My best friends are all from high school. So they are all still here in Bakersfield. It's just one of those things. What's funny is I think we're about like 400,000 people now. So when you think of it that way, it's big, but we still have like a small town feel to it. And everyone knows everyone's business. And it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so growing up kind of like that, and then always being conditioned to, do the whole normal, go to college, do this, do that, get straight A's. I was always kind of on that perfection route. And to be honest, I still struggle with that today. Like, I still think everything I do has to be at a perfection A++. So I'm working through that day by day, but yeah, I think the best thing I ever did was leave my hometown and experience other culture, I went to the East Coast, got to experience something totally different, meet all new people, and honestly just changed everything at that point. So super thankful.
It's funny hearing your story, and I don't think we've ever really talked about your move out west and coming or out east and coming back. It's like the reverse flip of me. Like, I was feeling the same way in the East Coast. It wasn't that like I have resentment. Like, I love where I'm from. I love the people there. I love everything about it.
Same.
Both the guys that I live with are both from the same hometown. So it's like I moved from there, but I still kept some part of that with me out
You're
here.
like the entourage.
Literally, we're just doing this, riding the coattails of Jack's success, honestly. Like, that's the dream. Now, his parents will appreciate that. They're avid listeners of the show. Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Foster. But I hear a lot of your story and I'm like, man, that's me right now. Like, that's why I moved out here. It was this change of perspective. When did you start? Was it during that time that you started to, I wouldn't say question, but start to challenge the norm and look like, oh, maybe I really can do anything. Maybe I can go this non-traditional route. And I mean, now,
Yeah.
how do you explain what you do to your parents?
Yeah, funny. They don't even ask because they're just like, the last time I talked to my dad, he literally said to me, so like, when are you going back to Cintas, which is like the corporate company I worked for?
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, come on. So he worked for Boeing his whole entire life. Did everything right, moved up in the company, retired with pension, which what's that? But yeah. And so I think it's just different, right? So, and he doesn't have any type of social media. I mean, the guy doesn't even have Facebook, right? So he's like, what are you doing? What's a TikTok? He has no idea. And I film him when I'm at home and he hates it and it's hilarious. But so anyways, yeah, to kind of answer your question, when did I know? I mean, I don't even know if I still know. I think I'm just going with what I feel is right. And when I made the decision to leave my hometown and go to college elsewhere, I always knew that was going to be the case. I always knew, okay, I'm going to leave Bakersfield and go somewhere, but I knew I had to be like a drastic change, because I literally was at this point where I was like, I want to know 0 people. Like, I want to put myself in such an uncomfortable situation that I have to make new friends, and not because I don't like my old friends, but just because I wanted to challenge myself. So I had a lot of opportunities to go to a bunch of schools in California. I said no. Even Arizona, I was like, too close. So yeah, I took the opportunity in South Carolina and I literally knew nobody. Ironically, there was a ton of Californians, but we didn't cross paths. So it almost caught me, but yeah. And then just like understanding, like, I say different culture because I had a really unique experience. So growing up in Bakersfield, it's a really conservative, really, typical, like I was talking about, hometown, right?
Mm.
Um, moving to South Carolina, I went to an HBCU, which historically Black college university. And I put myself in that situation completely knowing like what that meant, and knowing that I needed that. And that sounds like maybe selfish, or that sounds like, oh, like you you put yourself to like, but it's true. I really did think it shaped me and helped me so much and grow so much. And moving into where we are now in 2021, like I'm just so appreciative because of the things that I went through and experienced over there. Ironically, saying this sounds weird, but being a minority, it was ridiculous, right, to even say that out loud, but I was. And I got to talk to people who have literally said to me, I've never talked or hung out with a white person, literally. And like in joining in those conversations, just, I mean, I can't even explain how much it was so awesome for people to accept me and to, I guess, help me through that journey of being in a situation where I didn't know the culture, I didn't have like, didn't understand. And I was willing to learn and like open up, and I've met lifelong friends from there. So just really cool. Sorry, I kind of jumped into something totally different, but
No, I,
really shaped me.
how did you think that you were able to let that experience be what it was rather than be this isolating thing? Because I think a lot of people feel that, whether it is going off to college for the first time or moving cross country or changing jobs, when they
Right.
get thrown into a new culture, totally new culture, it's hard to not feel isolated, and you're just like
Right.
seeking this sense of belonging. What was that sense of belonging for you that allowed you to connect at that deeper level?
Yeah. So I would say there's two things. One, I'm very lucky because I did have soccer. So I did
Mm.
go for sport, right? So I was like, you kind of have those automatic friends. You're forced into teammates. So there's that. But the second part of it, and I would have never used this word until now that I've matured. In college, you would have never heard me say this word, but vulnerability. So I'm like, as you know, everything I do is with humor. So I make jokes. I always have this defense mechanism. It's part of my shtick. So having and being vulnerable opens yourself up to building these connections and basically saying like, hey, like in that moment, I had to like be the one that said, I don't know a lot. I don't know, and like ask questions and just be there to understand and literally be vulnerable in the situation of like, I'm coming into an area where I literally don't know anybody. And I do want to build connections. I do want to make friends and I do want to have this network. So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't have used that word in college. And that's mostly because even though I was doing it, I wouldn't want to admit that I was
Mhm.
being vulnerable. So I guess now 29 years old, I'm finally like, I'm okay with my emotions. So
No one wants to be
yeah.
vulnerable. Are you kidding? Now
Totally.
it's interesting to see. I mean, the tide has definitely shifted a little bit more as a
Mhm.
collective consciousness where vulnerability is being embraced more
Right.
often than not. So to your point, I think it is no coincidence that you're like, now, oh yeah, I can say that.
Yeah.
Um, that's awesome. I heard recently a quote from someone, I forget who it's from, but it was basically saying if you know less than 50% about the situation or the topic, just keep your mouth shut and get really
Mhm.
curious. Like, don't look to add and share your experience.
Mhm.
That's a moment and realization to be like, okay, let me get really curious and learn. And
Right.
it sounds like that's kind of your experience there was you were thrown into something that you knew definitely less than 50% of. So
Mhm.
you were one, vulnerable enough to admit that.
Right.
Two, you were okay with laying down the ego for a second, being like, all eyes on me, like I know how to do this. And you were
Mhm.
just curious enough to say, hey, I see you do things different. Why is that?
Right.
Let me learn about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was such an amazing experience. I wouldn't, take it away for the world. And um, yeah, and then after that, after those 4 years, I ended up getting injured, tore my ACL like every other female athlete, probably. But
Soccer players especially, I feel like that's the big one.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thought I was gonna get through it without it, but the summer before my senior year going into that, I was playing, I was living with a host family. I was playing on like the semi-pro team, and it was the last game of the season, ironically.
Mm.
And yeah, I tore it in like the last couple minutes, and I knew like as soon as I did it, and it was, yeah. So my last senior season, or my last season, right? So senior year, I didn't get to play, and it was, super unfortunate. But I think looking back, I realized like it was totally for a purpose. And moving from that, I was like, okay, I have another year of eligibility. I'm going to rehab. I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to put myself into another new experience. So I decided, let's move to Los Angeles. Never lived there before. And so I went there for grad school, and I played soccer there and got like a whole different experience of, different team, different environment. One was a Division 1 school, one was Division 2, just kind of like, just everyone lived near the California schools. So it was totally different. Whereas in South Carolina, we hung out every single day, every single weekend. And then I go to California and everyone goes home on the weekends. I'm like, hey, like, I want to hang out.
Where are my friends? What
Yeah, where's
happened?
everyone going? So it was really cool though to get those two different experiences. And then obviously, spending the time in LA, tried my shot at acting that lasted all of 6 months. And then I realized I can just get on social media and be my own actress. So here we are.
I say it's funny how it comes full circle, right?
Yeah.
The opportunities, the doors that social has opened up for people is absolutely incredible. I mean, I look at even just since when you and I first connected, was it last year? Or was it earlier this year?
I
Has it
think it
been a
was
full
last
year?
year. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to see like the really the exponential growth, especially on TikTok. I mean, it's been really cool to see because when we first connected, it wasn't any of these conversations where, oh, Darci, are you gonna start your own thing? Like, what are you doing? It was just like, yeah, this is like what I do, and I'm just like kind of doing this thing on the side. And now it's
Yeah.
like blown up. Talk to me about navigating that like quick. I mean, in some senses, I'm sure it also feels like oh, it's taking forever. But in the grand scheme of things, like a year is really, really quick for things to gain traction and get
Yeah.
to a level that it's at now.
Yeah. It's funny because I resisted TikTok much like most millennials for a very long time. And I would practice the dances and then just do them to myself and record them and watch them back and think, oh, you're so cool, and then never post them. So that's probably weirder than just having a TikTok. But either way,
It's all good.
I finally gave in. Probably, I think it was like, I don't know, like February of this year, like early this year. And the way I looked at it was, and you've probably heard this, it's like a quote, right? Where it's like, no matter if the stage or the audience has one person, 0 people, or a million, like you still perform like there is a million, right?
Mm.
So the way I looked at TikTok was I have 0 followers. No one's going to see this. I'm just going to go, can I say balls to the
Yeah,
walls?
go for
I'm
it.
gonna go balls to the walls and just like go hard on it, right? So I was posting 3 to 4 times a day, literally 3 to 4 times a day, just anything that came to my mind about career coaching. I was like, how can I help the most people possible? I'm gonna tell them like what to say in an interview if it's about this. I'm going to tell them exactly what words to write if they're writing an email to a hiring manager. I'm going to explain to them like what industries are popping right now. Like anything I could think of, I was just like, my face, it's going on TikTok. So at that point, I think maybe it was like a quantity over quality situation,
Yeah.
but it reached people. And then the ones they did gravitate towards, right? Like of 5 videos, they maybe liked one of them, that one would blow up, right? So I'm like, okay, I have something here. And I just kept it up, kept it up, kept it up. And I think, yeah, consistency was the best. And then now I just signed a contract to work with, do like TikTok videos for Indeed, so it's like, it's so cool. And I actually feel like the way I look at it is like when I get discouraged if something gets less views, I think back to that first moment and say like, remember when you had 0 followers and you cared so much to just post because you knew someone was going to see it? Now I look at that like, oh, I have like 150,000 followers. These should be getting more views. And then I'm like, no, Darci, like think about it like at least one person. It's like, if they're liking it, there's something there that they took away from it. So that's kind of how I've like gone about it. And don't get me wrong, I think it's so hard to be consistent. And I think anyone
Mm.
on social media understands that. but that's really what I'm pushing for. It's just the consistency. And I always keep in the back of my head, this is helping someone. And that usually pushes me forward.
Yeah. I like I like the initial intention, and I think you've done a good job of keeping it. It's value driven from the get-go. Even
Mhm.
if it is 4 videos a day when you started, and all of them were value driven.
Mhm.
It's not, that's I think why social media often gets a bad rap, is most people on there aren't going on there with the intention of sharing value. They're going
Mhm.
on with the intention of like, hey, look at me. You've done a fantastic job just from an observer standpoint, like
Thanks.
creating things that have value and also capture people's attention. And it just the
Mhm.
byproduct is they follow you and you are where you're at now, which is really, really cool to see. I think, do you set an intention at all before recording the videos, or is it just like this thought comes into mind, I'm just gonna like roll with it?
Yeah, you know what's funny is the times that I do set intention and I do really plan it out and try and make it like this is gonna be the best video ever. It's like
It
never
flops.
is. Yeah, never is. So, and I'm sure you've heard that from many creators, but
Yeah.
I think for me, yeah, my like thing has always been like spontaneous and it's always been quick, like one liner or just things that off the top of my head. So I'm like, why am I trying to change that? You know, it kind of maybe it's a work standpoint. Like I feel like I'm not working hard enough if I'm not like like creating these like plans and everything for my social content, but really that's not who I am. So the
Hmm.
way I look at it is like I'm not a stand-up comedian. I don't write all my stuff out. I'm never gonna be that, right? I'm never gonna go stand and do stand-up. Like praise to the people who can do that because it's so hard. However, in a conversation, I want to make someone laugh. So that's the way I view social. I'm like, if we're having a conversation, if this just comes to mind, like I want to make them smile, I want to give them education, you know, something educational, obviously while being somewhat entertaining, hopefully. So that's, yeah, so that's the way I look at it. I just like this comes to my head and I grab my phone and then I have like 10,000, like that's an exaggeration, but a lot of drafts, right? Because I'll
Yeah.
just put my phone and be like, da, 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 and I'm like, well, that was trash. So, you know, it kind of, you know, comes and goes, but that's, I guess, how I do things.
I was about to say it, it's got to be a balancing act from what you said earlier of like the perfectionist piece.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
you
gosh.
realize, I think TikTok has done a fantastic job of showing people exactly your point. Like the less time and like the less like curated and put together it looks, the better it usually does on their algorithms. And I'm like, huh,
Mhm.
what if we all just started like living life that way, right? Like instead
Mhm.
of, we're not saying like don't stop taking care of yourself, but like, do you need to go above and beyond like all the time? Probably
Right.
not. You know, like just be
Right.
you, just like show up in these spaces and see
Yeah.
kind of what happens.
Yeah,
Um,
like pick and choose your battles. And anytime that you're feeling, and this can go for anything other than social, right? Like if
mhm.
you're feeling like scared to post something or that you don't want to, or that, I don't know, you're going to get judged or someone's going to laugh at you, like do it anyways. You know, I mean, as long as it's like a nice, a nice thing, right?
Yeah.
Do it anyways. Like I literally joke all the time. There's like an ex-boyfriend of mine that watches every single one of my Instagram stories. And I'm like, oh, he's for sure judging me, like for sure. But I'm like, hey, he's another audience member. So welcome to the show.
You never know who you're impacting to in that
Yeah.
process. You know, it's like
Maybe
things
he
didn't
needs a new
work out in
job.
that sense, but maybe he needs a new job. Like
Yeah.
he's there for some good value.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you think now at this point, you, with each of these moves, from like either corporate jobs or even changing teams and seeking, do you think you're finding more meaning behind the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis than a few years back?
Definitely, yes. I am more intentional about finding that meaning, which I
Mm,
think is the difference. And I talk to people about this all the time. It doesn't always mean change. It doesn't always mean I have to quit my job. It means like figuring out what is actually that problem that you're missing in terms of quote unquote the, you know, the meaning behind something. and I still like, I coach myself on this, right? Like when I write in my journal, I'm like, if I was sad, like what was the why, right? Like, am I doing things with purpose? Am I helping someone? Because at the end of the day, like to me, that's my purpose. And that's like meaningful. And to do it in a way that makes other people smile. I think that's the key for me. Because I'm sure a lot of people out there are like, yeah, I want to help people too. Like everyone, right? Hopefully that's most people.
I was about to say, I wish that was more a universal
Yeah.
trend.
Right. Maybe not, but I think you have a good audience. So I'm going to go with everyone listening.
Everyone listening
Feels that way, but there has to be something that's unique to you, right? So for me, I think, and not to toot my own horn, but I think that adding a little bit of entertainment or humor to something, and I really, really think that I found some meaning in social media. As much as social media can have a bad connotation, I'm like, I'm using it for good, and that makes me happy. So yeah, as I progressed, I mean, geez, I can't even imagine like having this conversation 5 years down the road where I'm going to be, right? Like, I'm just excited that every day I'm kind of, or I guess every day, every year, if we're taking like a longer span, like looking back on that, I'm like, whoa, I've like really grown. Good job.
I think I mean, that gets to be a really cool metric of success, right? If you
Yeah.
can look at it as this, whoa, I've grown like crazy. My
Mhm.
bank account might have not have changed, or like this part might not have changed, but I've grown. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really powerful shift in where your perspective's going.
Yeah.
I love that.
100%. I wanted to share something too, just that reminded me. I listened to a podcast recently that Rob Dyrdek was on.
Mhm.
I don't know Rob Dyrdek, right? You think of him like, the guy with the shoes, and Robin Big.
Robin Big, baby. That was a
Yeah.
great show.
Right? He is the most mindful, intentional human being you'll ever, I mean, I've never met him, but I'm going to say you'll ever meet. Listening to him speak about his daily routine, he wakes up, he meditates for 30 minutes, he sets intentions for his day, and everything he does with meaning. And he has a full-blown Excel spreadsheet that every single day he fills out. How did I sleep? Did I drink today? Did I tell my wife I loved her? Did I do this? Right? It's like A or B situation. And he actually calculates every single year a percentage on his productivity. And he like obviously creates what those are for him. But I was like mind blown. And that completely changed my day. Like I don't do it to that extent, but in my journal, I'll write down, just the simple things. Did I meditate today? Yes. Did I work out today? Yes. Did I? And then I can look back and think, oh, I didn't have the best day today. And I look back, I'm like, wait, a lot of these are no's.
Yeah.
Okay, let's reset. Let's go for tomorrow, And so, yeah, just want to share that.
I love that. I mean, I'm huge on routines, habits, finding the ones that serve you, and
Mhm.
understanding. So like where a lot of this conversation has gone. It's like understanding certain routines you can grow out of, certain habits you can grow out of, just like you can grow out of certain teams, you can grow out of certain jobs. If that's the case, I love how you also brought up like maybe change your relationship or role within the company first before, like everyone is just going through this mass exodus right now of this
Yeah.
great just the great quit your job and
Yeah.
do your own thing. That is 2020, 2021, the wave we've seen here. But I love the intentionality there. What routines and habits, you mentioned some of them, what would be some of the ones that you really notice that you just feel the most on, like when you're
Right.
consistently doing?
Yeah, I'm 100% all about moving your body. And I'm sure you relate to that.
No,
And
not at all.
you're like, no, keep me in
No,
my chair, please. I'm literally standing at a standing desk right now, so I can like move around.
I've moved around in this chair way too so
Yeah.
much during this.
As much as I try and fight it, like I'll be like, oh, I don't need to work out today, or it's not even the workout. It's just like go on a walk. It's just the movement of it. And so I've been super intentional lately about if I'm not feeling up for a workout, I'll just walk. I'll walk for an hour and I'll, take my calls. I'll scroll through social media as I'm walking, and that's part of my job because I have to see what the new trends are. But anyways, so that has been number one for me for sure. And I notice like anytime I'm feeling a little bit down, I always think back, like, have I been working out consistently, or have I been moving my body consistently? So I definitely have like a regimen where I walk my dog every single morning. I say dog, I have 3 dogs, dogs every single morning, and every night, so I have that. And then this is actually recent for me. I just started meditating. So I've always dabbled in it, and I've
Mhm.
always heard people say it's great. My brain runs a mile a minute. And so I haven't been able to find something where I don't, to me, meditation was always like, okay, just try and stay quiet. And then I either fall asleep or nothing happens. So lately I've been trying new things. I haven't found, I don't want to say I have the number one solution yet, but I've tried Kundalini yoga, which is like a breath work
Mhm.
and helps you meditate. I'm doing a guided meditation right now about inner child work. So just things that make my mind think specifically on that meditation. And that's been amazing. Like it's been the past couple months, and I love it. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. As I struggled for a long time, and I don't want to sit here and say like, yeah, I meditate every single day. I don't.
Mhm.
I would love to get to that point in time, but even still, like I've tried the headspaces, I've tried the calm apps, like I've done those
Mhm.
things, and they just don't do it for me
Yeah.
sometimes too. But I have found success as well, and the success again is relative when we're talking meditation, especially. I
Right.
think that's a lot of people think of meditation and then they approach it as like, well, I'm just waiting for that thing to happen. And it's like,
Mhm.
sometimes that's not it. Sometimes it is an opportunity for you to practice and just sit there and sit in the discomfort, just like, and do it in a 5 minute span instead of moving your
Right.
life across the country and joining a soccer team and doing what you did. Like
Yeah,
you
it
can
takes a
get a little
while.
taste test of it, right? Of doing a
Yeah,
10-minute meditation. And that could be the
exactly.
most discomforting thing for a lot of people. But on the other side of that discomfort, I think, is what we're all after. It's growth.
Mhm. Yeah. I like, I'm not gonna lie, I fought the woo-woo train for so long. Like
Yeah.
I literally was like, no, like I'm
You're like,
not gonna,
LA, cool, I'm out.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna drink the green juice. I'm not gonna, meditate. I'm not gonna, there's just so much of it, right? And it's become very popular on social media as well, which
Mhm.
also gives me a little bit of that resistance. And then I finally realized, like, if I just try it, what's the worst that can happen? I don't like it. And then I'm back to square one. Okay, that's where I'm at now. So I might as well just dive in and see, like, okay, all these people talk about meditation. Everyone that I look up to that is successful mentions meditation. So, okay, all right, you got me, right? I'm gonna try it. So I've been doing these like visualization techniques where
Mhm.
like I legitimately place myself into something that I want to happen. So like obviously this is the definition of manifesting, but actually walking through the whole entire thing. So I want to be on Big Brother. That's like the number one thing in my life. Reality TV show for those who don't know. So every night before I go to bed, I spend about 10 minutes and I go through an entire episode that I'm in on Big Brother. So like if I end up there, it's gonna be because I've already lived it.
I love that you have taken visualization where most athletes will like roll through a whole game, or like I would roll
Mhm.
through a whole race, and you've now implemented into your reality TV
Yeah.
strategy. That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, there's a ton of science backing this stuff, which is where I came from the same breath. Like come from more of the like exercise physiology, like I need hard data route.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you're gonna tell me that this is gonna improve. Like, no, the only way to improve my physical well-being is through hard work,
Physical. Yeah.
physical hard being. Like this is some baloney, BS. And then I
Right.
started to see the science behind it, and I was like, wait a second, there's a lot of links between the mental practices and our actual physiology of like what's going on inside of our body. It's like, all
Mhm.
right, I'll be open to this. I'll be a little bit more receptive. I think
Yeah.
too, what I've struggled to buy into, and it's why for me, like religion has been a challenging thing, is it
Mhm.
oftentimes is so all in or all out. Like you need to, it's not just like do the practices, but you need to buy into everything. And
Mhm.
that can turn off a lot of people, I think,
Right.
especially in our generation. From what I've just observed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we want options. We have so many things at our fingertips now. Are you kidding? Like if you aren't sure about something, you Google it and you have like millions of opinions coming from both sides. So
Yeah.
how hard is it to just say like one way is the right way? And it's not, right? Like we've realized that. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to be secure and happy with the decisions that you choose. And for me right now, I'm choosing to visualize myself in that freaking Big Brother house and see what happens. But no, my coach used to make us walk the field in soccer. Like before our
Mm,
games, we'd have to walk all the way there, all the way back with our heads down, staring at the ground. And he's like, I want you to feel the ground with your feet. I want you to see where all the divots are in the ground. I want you to understand where you're at. And I want you to visualize what you want to happen today. And so as I'd walk through, I always thought it was a bunch of baloney because again, I was young, I had no idea. All I wanted to do was run and run and run and prove to people that I was good and like score, right?
mm,
So I would do it though, I get, coach said so. So I would do that. And I'm like so thankful because now I look back and I'm like, man, like some of those times where like I jumped and won like a ball in the air or like stuff, I was actually picturing myself doing that prior to that happening. And it's like in the moment, it feels so good. Like it feels like I was meant to be here because I already
mm.
thought about it. Just, yeah, so crazy. But I'm obviously all in on that. So,
No, I love it. I was the same way of thinking. I always joked that visualization was like built-in nap time for us,
mhm.
like in high school, and then I started to really buy into it in college. Now I'm a firm believer of just visualizing a whole bunch of stuff. I to bring it full circle of like woo-woo-ness, like that's why I moved to the house that I moved to in LA, as I saw it in a meditation. Like I
Oh,
was going
cool.
through a guided meditation with a friend of mine, and she was like, I want you to visualize you're in a room, and on the other side of this door at the end of the room is the answer to the question that you've been like seeking. I was like,
Mhm.
well, that sounds really like ambiguous and bold. How does she know what I'm seeking? And opened up the door, and there was the ocean. And I was like, that's it. I'm moving to LA and I have to be on the beach. And at the time I was like between thinking about, do I stay in DC? Do I move to Austin? Do I move to LA? And I was like,
Right.
just the universe, higher power, whatever you want to believe in, telling me like, this is where
That's
you
where you're
belong.
supposed to be. Yeah.
Crazy. If you
Oh,
told me this like 5 years ago, I would have said kick rocks. No way.
that's so funny. I'm so glad my door never opened to an ocean because it's not my thing. I'm
Okay.
a I'm a forest girl. I love like the cabins and the woods. So maybe I need to do that visualization so I can end up somewhere cool like that. Right now I'm still in Bakersfield.
Tell Ryan, hey, sorry, we're moving.
Yeah.
I
We're
visualized
moving
it.
because I saw it in a visualization meditation.
I love it. I love it. One of the last questions I got for you before we go into the fast five and having
Mhm.
people kind of connect with you and all that jazz and highlight the cool stuff you're doing. How would you recommend to someone out there, whether it's meditation, whether it's finding meaning, finding purpose, how would you recommend someone taking that like first step?
Yeah. Okay. First step, I think it's all within you. So it's probably going to sound cheesy, but um, oh, okay. Do you know James Clear? He wrote
Yeah.
the book, Atomic Habits. So I have his newsletter, and I think it was last week. One of his quotes was, "If you spend 1 hour thinking to yourself, it'll save you hundreds of hours in the long run."
Mm,
And I could not agree more. I think I made back in the day, I made many, many decisions um, without thinking why I'm making these decisions. And it's not to say they were good or bad because they're all part of my story, but I do think that at this point, my biggest piece of advice would be take a second to yourself. Doesn't have to be a full hour, but yeah, those little incremental moments and think to yourself, like, what is it that I truly want? Because there's people in the world who have all the money in the world and they're still saying they don't have a purpose.
mm.
So it's obviously not, there's something there, right? So we got to figure that out first and then take the steps to do what's next to make. I think at the end of the day, we're all searching for what? For happiness, right? So to make that, to get to that happiness.
Yeah.
Sorry if that was
Yeah.
long.
No, I love that perspective. I like to say we often confuse busyness towards movement, towards an actual goal, but it's not toward, usually busyness isn't moving us towards something meaningful. And if we can just take that second to be still, which I would argue as athletes, we are conditioned never to do. We're used
Right.
to everything being like boom, boom, boom. Um, I love that. Taking some time for you. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a full hour.
Yeah.
10 minutes. Easy
Yeah.
enough. I want to ask you the fast five. They're one sentence, one word answers, rapid fire. We're gonna have some fun with it. First one is, what's your go-to podcast that you've been jamming to?
Oh my gosh, Trading Secrets. It is Jason Tardik, Trading Secrets, talks about everything in terms of finances, but also just like mindfulness. It's the Rob Dyrdek. Sorry, one word answer. I didn't get that.
One sentence or one word. You're
Oh,
making a
okay.
long sentence.
Yeah, it's where Rob Dyrdek was on. That's the podcast. But I'm every Monday it comes out and I'm all about it.
Nice, nice. Glad to know I'm up against that competition when these come out on Monday.
Sorry, am I supposed to say your
No.
your
Selfish plug. It's this podcast, everyone.
This is the
Scratch
number
that
one.
last one. Just listen here. You don't need any others. Number two, you mentioned some books throughout. What's your go-to book in the past year that you've read?
Oh man. I mean, obviously I'm sure everyone says Atomic Habits. Great book, but I want to give a good one. I just listened to this. It's a little bit off the wall, but it's a rapper named Russ, Russ.
Mm-hmm.
He just did an Audible and it's called Get Out of Your Head. And it is a lot about what we just talked about on this podcast. Super quick. It was about an hour and a half. I listened like in a car ride up to LA, down to LA. But it's amazing. It was so good. I just want everyone to listen to it. So this is me forcing you and anyone else listening to listen to it.
To check out Russ. He's been on fire lately of just like quality song after quality song.
Yeah.
He's
He
been a
had
good one to watch.
I think it was 9 albums or something before he was even like known as a person.
Yeah.
Artist, whatever.
And goes to show, to your point earlier, of just like I wouldn't say pushing out content, but throwing out, and it's all quality stuff. Like it's not
stopping though is
he hasn't let the perfectionism stop him from putting out anything in the first place.
Right.
Number three is, what's something you can't live without?
My dogs. Oh my gosh. I
was gonna bet coffee that you were gonna say.
Oh, that's a tough one. I should probably tell people I drink about 3, and this is not exaggerating. I drink about 3 espressos a day. And if not espresso, I'll have at least like 6 to 7 cups of coffee. So yes, that is a very, I don't want to say bad trait, but I'm working on it.
You enjoy coffee. It's part of your personality. Embrace it.
But yes, coffee and dogs. Can she get any more basic?
I love it. You didn't say pumpkin spice latte, so you're good there. You're like, but that's what I had today.
Yeah. On that one.
Number 4 is, what's a quote that you live by?
Oh, live by. I think it's just, I don't know if I'm going to get the quote right, but basically just doing everything with the intention that it's for an entire audience, like kind of what I said before. But for me, that's like very specific to me because something I've recognized about myself, and I think being self-aware is huge. I love attention. And I know that sounds bad, but I'm so comfortable in saying it because I know who I am. And so everything that I do, I just have to look at it like this is a stage for me. So yeah, that was long-winded again. Sorry, but I think if anyone can relate, just imagine yourself on a stage and like right now, it's just being core, but it's a stage.
There we go. It's the best stage around. Last one I got is, if you could sum up your focus into one word, what's that at this point in time?
My focus, like what I'm focused on.
Yeah.
Oh, one word. Freedom.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that theme. Should we cue the Kygo freedom song as we go out here? Man, I love that.
That's what I'm getting. Hopefully that's what I'm moving towards. So Yeah.
You're already living it. You're already living it. It's been really cool to see your journey, Darci. I appreciate
Thanks.
you joining us today. I just want to acknowledge you for being you and the way that you are unapologetically not afraid to just show up and be on the stage and impact lives in the process. So I
I hope
appreciate
so.
you coming on. Where can those get more of you? Where can they check it out? When we reference the TikToks and the
Yes.
Instagrams and all this, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, if you want more of this, it is everything is Career Coach Darci. So TikTok and Instagram, website, careercoachdarci.com. That's me. I do more than just career coaching in the sense of I like to bring a little bit of entertainment, but that if you are looking for something, if you're interviewing, things like that, I really do try my best to put out a ton of content to help people. So I'd love to have you there.
To follow along.
All along and like DM me so we can chat and hang out.
Yeah, I mean, that's how social media gets a bad rap, but that's how you and I met, and
Yeah.
I'm so super grateful for it. So again, I appreciate the time, Darci. Anything else you want to add to the people? You want to send
No,
us out?
no, thank you so much, Corey, for doing this podcast. It's hard work, so I appreciate it. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to Forever Athlete Radio today. Remember to share this episode with a friend, a family member, or a teammate, because together we go far. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts with your biggest takeaway from today's conversation, and I will see you all on Monday.